Hi friends, welcome back to Cinnamon Sanctuary. I'm back with a quick salmon recipe. Our first step will be to season about 4 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. This will aid us with pan frying our fish, as I will show you shortly. And my favorite combination for this is all-purpose seasoning, black pepper, garlic, and my favorite aromat. But it's entirely up to you if you want to add other types of seasonings. This is just the combination that I've been favoring for a few years now. Now we're going to pan fry our salmon, and to do that I'm just adding in a little bit of oil, not too much, because we're only pan frying it, as I said. And also this is a non-stick pan, so try and ensure that you use a non-stick pan. With fish, I think it's so much safer. You don't want it to end up crumbly. So now I'm just coating it in the seasoned flour, and as I said, the flour gives it a nice texture. It's not compulsory, but I like to use flour when I'm frying my fish. I don't know, I like the texture of it. Sometimes I don't use flour. If I'm deep frying fish, then I don't tend to use it, but when I'm pan frying it as so, then yes, I think flour is quite a nice addition. So as I said, we have to coat it nicely, make sure that each side is covered, and then we can add the fish into the hot oil. And what I tend to do is when I put the fish in the pan, I try to ensure that I don't touch it straight away. I want to make sure that the side is sealed properly before I start turning it. And it will normally take a couple of minutes, or maybe 2 to 3 minutes before that happens. And you want to make sure that you keep an eye out for your fish so that it doesn't burn. This is frying at a medium heat. And yeah, I'll let you carry on watching what I'm doing. So the fish has been frying for about 10 minutes at this stage, so it's time to remove it. I've ensured that each side has been cooked properly. And this golden color is what you're looking for when it comes to your salmon. And salmon doesn't take very long to cook anyway. It might not be entirely done on the inside, but that's not an issue because we're going to put it back once we have finished our stew situation, which I'll be showing you in a couple of minutes. But now just removing it. And you see the oil in the inside, there's so much flavor in it. You want to retain what's there. Oh yes, nice, beautiful. That's what you're looking for. Now we're getting ready to make our sauce. So I'm adding in a little bit of butter, and I'm going to add some onion and garlic that we will sweat over the butter for a few minutes before adding some vegetables. So by way of vegetable, I'm going to be using some yellow pepper, but feel free to use green or red pepper. I actually prefer red pepper for this, but I had yellow pepper on hand for this particular recipe, which is fine as well. But red pepper is really nice because it has this sweet texture, it has this sweet flavor. So just added some red onions, and let me tell you, red onions are the best for this, I find, because they leave this caramelized juice at the end, and it makes it sweet. You know, it adds some sweetness to it, which is really great. So I'm using red onion for this, but by all means, if you don't have any red onions, feel free to use just white onions, as you may. So now I'm just sweating it all out and adding some seasoning. And here you'll see me adding a couple of bay leaves, and I'll also be adding a bit of balsamic vinegar. I like to use vinegar when I'm cooking with fish. It adds a nice kick. Some black pepper as well for flavor. Some aromat, my favorite ever. A bit of all-purpose seasoning. I'm also going to add in a bit of dried parsley. Some garlic granules for extra flavoring. And a splash of ketchup. I'll be using about 1 tablespoon of ketchup, and I like using ketchup when I make salmon. It gives it a really nice sweet flavor. And I decided to add in some thyme at the last minute as well because I love thyme. And now mixing it all up, and we're just going to let it cook for a bit, not too long because I don't want the peppers to be cooked through too much, so you want them to still retain a little bit of crunch. At this point, you can probably tell the red onions have started to caramelize and are starting to release their flavors, which is good news for the fish. And very shortly after this, I'm going to be adding some tomatoes. So I've used about 7 to 8 baby plum tomatoes, and I tend to add them towards the end because, again, I don't want them to be too mushy. I'd like them to retain some texture prior to adding the fish. And I'm just stirring everything in nice and tidy. Just letting everything fry for a bit. And this is a fairly quick dish, so things don't have to stay on the stove for too long. About 5 minutes after the tomatoes have gone in, I'm going in with a bit of hot water to deglaze the pan, and also making sure that I get a little bit of gravy before adding my fish. So you can see it's deglazing and we're getting the formation of a little gravy. And I'm going in with my pan-fried salmon now, one by one. Now I'm just about to wet each piece of salmon with some of the gravy for maximized flavoring. There's a word for this. I'm pretty sure there's a word for it. I can't think of it now. Let me know in the comments box what this is called, what I'm doing right now. There's a word. I can't think of it. It's at the tip of my tongue. Anyway, I'm wetting my salmon, just adding in a little bit more water, but that's optional as well. I just like, my husband likes gravy. He likes a lot of gravy in his food. So I have to make sure that there's enough gravy in whatever I cook. So yeah, that's for you, husband. Just mixing everything up, and then we're going to let this simmer for another 7 minutes, 6-7 minutes, no more than that, just to bring everything together. And here is the final product. This is all done. Start to finish, it probably took about 35-40 minutes to make, if that. And this is perfect paired with pretty much whatever takes your fancy. I love this with white rice. I think it quite works, but you can have it with rice and peas, with potatoes. You can have it just with some vegetables on the side. And it's a relatively healthy meal. And here's a close-up of the dish. As you can see, still bubbling away. And I'm just about to dish this up with some white rice. Here's my fancy bit of rice that I molded, that's the word. I'm just going to show you what the fish looks like. You can see it's nicely seasoned. And I'm going in with a little bit of gravy. I'm not sure why I'm scrimping on the gravy, to be honest. Normally I have a lot more than this. I'm not sure why I'm doing that. But yeah, that's the final product. So let me know if you like the recipe. Leave a comment, like, and subscribe. And I'll see you very soon on the next video. Bye!